Good Monday morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Paul Dudley. We had breaking news out of Pacific Grove where crews are battling a large fire. And really still more questions than answers as a number of different law enforcement agencies investigate this shooting. The death toll has reached more than 2,700 people on both sides of the conflict. And it is under a mandatory evacuation right now. Of course, you have some neighbors who are prepared, who have been here through many of these storms, so they're not worried. And the big question is, how much more rain can we expect? Let's get right over to your local weather expert, Peyton Malone, who guided us through the storms this morning. And then the other thing that really shows how bad the winds were here last night is this power pole that has been snapped in half. Speaker McCarthy spent a lot of time trying to negotiate this bill for a vote, but how exactly did he do it? This is us here, 241, huh?
241.
I got behind the wheel of one of these buses.
Hey!
Complete with a dozen or more buttons and certainly no backup camera. But driving the 37,000-pound bus was made a little bit easier by the automatic transmission. A surprise to me.
No, they're all automatics now.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Paul Dudley. Lauren, we made it to a Friday.
Made it?
Yes.
All the way there.
I forgot my sunglasses the other day. I had to buy these at the gas station,
no.
and I'm wondering what you think about these.
I think they look cool. They look like
Yeah.
they'll block the sun.
Yeah, they're not bad. There we go, right? Happening this weekend, astronomy fans are getting ready for a cool sight in the sky. A solar eclipse will be visible in parts of the United States. It's being referred to as a ring of fire eclipse. And Gina is here. And Gina, what are the chances that we're going to see this? I mean, I know we get some cloud cover by the coast, so.
It basically destroyed it.
When Hurricane Ida slammed into the Louisiana coast, the storm went right over the Pointe-aux-Chênes indigenous community, leaving behind unprecedented damage.
And then my window blew up in my bedroom.
Bryce Billiot has called this place home for more than 70 years. He says he's never witnessed this kind of destruction.
It hurt. I never seen nothing like that. And I mean, I was one of the lucky ones. You know, my house still all right. But when I see everything else what happened, I mean, it's bad.
Total devastation is almost an understatement. There is not a single structure that didn't take on at least some damage. And to make matters worse, there's no power or running water, and there likely won't be for quite some time.
It'll be a month before we get electricity. We don't even have no water. You got a few, 3 or 4 houses left. All the rest is destroyed.
Only 10% of the homes are still livable. The rest will have to be demolished, according to Charles Chucky Verdon Sr., chairman of the tribe.
They got roofs that flew off and it's all wet on the inside. Some homes, you look at them from the front, they look like they're all right, but when you go on the backside, you go look in them, it's all wet.
While the damage is widespread, there are volunteers ready to help. On Tuesday, the nonprofit Glass Half Full organized a group of 75 people to deliver supplies and help people clean up.
And I think, like a lot of us in New Orleans, we feel like we were spared the majority of the wind damage. I mean, we lost power for a long time, but really the eye didn't hit us. And so we feel like we need to help our neighbors and help people down the bayou who were hit much worse than us.
We're just here for a few hours, and you can imagine the emotions and the stress that's going on through the members of the people who live here.
Could power some up right here.
Volunteers brought in water, food, and other necessities. They cut down trees and cleared debris. Members of the tribe we spoke to say they are thankful for the help.
It's a blessing there to see them want to come out and help, you know. I know there's only so much they could do, but anyway, just to see people come out and want to help, you know.
Like the people that come all over, you know, it would be for them. We would have nothing. We would have no water. We would have nothing to eat.
The cleanup here will take months, if not longer. Yet Billiot says he's confident people will return.
I think plenty will, you know, because they like the community. It's almost all family this side, you know. I'm not going no place. I got to stay in Pointe-aux-Chênes.
You're going to stay,
Yeah.
This is your home?
That's my home for 74 years.
A community hit hard by Ida, determined to rebuild. Paul Dudley, Eyewitness News. All around Coquetry, land is disappearing, and with it, perhaps a way of life. Protecting this town and so many others inland are a series of barrier islands vanishing into the water.
There are a list of reasons why barrier islands are important to Louisiana. Most notably, they serve as the first line of defense when a hurricane hits.
when the storm comes in, they're the thing that's going to take the first brunt.
These land masses also keep the waters of the Terrebonne Bay quiet, and that in turn slows down the erosion of the wetlands closer to people. The state has lost 2,000 square miles of land since the 1940s. Like the marshes, these islands are shrinking because the land is sinking and seas are rising. Hurricanes have also left the islands badly damaged.
You can see just how much of the island has disappeared.
On our way to a series of barrier islands, we come upon the Lake Pelto Sulphur Mine Island. This photo from 1988 shows a large building on it, and satellite imagery from around the same time shows most of the land still visible. This is what it looks like today.
It's kind of the story of Louisiana. You know, we think a lot of in New Orleans about, ain't there no more. And, this is, literally an island where there were buildings and people working, and now there's hardly anything left of it.
And it isn't just this small island disappearing. The barrier island chain serving as the last strip of land between the Gulf of Mexico is also deteriorating. Less than 200 years ago, Isle Dernier, or Last Island, was one continuous island, roughly 25 miles long and a mile in width.
The history of this place is back in the 1850s, there was a big hotel here. It was a big resort for the rich and famous in the South. Around 1856, a hurricane came through here and blew this place away, destroyed the hotel, killed most of the people that were in the hotel.
Today, Last Island is made up of several barrier islands. And according to USGS, they are eroding so quickly that some estimates predict they will be gone by the end of this century. Scientists at Coastal Engineering Consultants are working to slow down the destruction. On Trinity Island, there is a restoration project paid for by BP after the spill. Crews are rebuilding the land by dredging sand from about 10 miles offshore.
These islands will serve to protect the inland areas from future hurricane damage. Another effect of this is habitat. By the time we finish with this island, we'll have created at least 1,000 acres worth of pristine, fresh habitat.
While these projects are offering a bit of optimism, removing large parts of the seabed and dumping it elsewhere can have its own significant impacts on the ecosystem. And another problem, the protection may not last very long at all.
There is a relatively large restoration project in these barrier islands with the idea of maintaining these islands for 10, 20, 30 years.
While time may be running out for these barrier islands, scientists are hopeful more new restoration projects, some closer to the mouth of the river, will serve as a life raft as land sinks and waters rise.
We can build levees, but levees only go so far. You actually need a healthy natural environment in front of those levees to really protect people. And so when it comes to preserving the culture of Louisiana, as well as protecting people against things like storm surge, coastal restoration is really key.
Despite the restoration, some geologists say the barrier islands could be gone before our children become adults, leaving an uneasy feeling as future hurricanes sit on the horizon. Paul Dudley, Eyewitness News.
Across the Central Coast, tributes to John Steinbeck are visible just about everywhere you look. But there was a time when many here despised the famous author.
I became really impressed by the very high price he paid for what he wrote.
Steve Hawk, the author of Steinbeck, The Untold Stories, says at first Steinbeck never wanted to leave his parents' Pacific Grove cabin.
He never wanted to leave Pacific Grove. He says it's one of the best places in the world to write. I don't care about the fog, it keeps me in. But I think death threats, I think threats to his life ended up being too much.
Lisa Josephs with the National Steinbeck Center tells us East of Eden angered many for its portrayal of the people of Salinas and the city itself. But the threats started before. In the 30s, Steinbeck started researching and writing about labor issues in Of Mice of Men, A Deeper Dive in Indubious Battle, and the Pulitzer Prize-winning Grapes of Wrath, which exposed how farm workers were being exploited as Oklahoma migrants moved to California.
He's angry, he's motivated to do something about it, and so in choosing to write The Grapes of Wrath, he was putting his stamp, his own view on the labor issues that were going on here.
The Associated Farmers of California declared the Grapes of Wrath a pack of lies, and book burnings followed, including one at the old Salinas Library, which is now this Bank of America. Steinbeck moved to New York and did not return to live here again. And even when he did visit, it was anything but peaceful.
When he was helping with finding shooting locations for the film The Grapes of Wrath, he didn't want to stay very long because he was afraid that someone might come out with a shotgun full of rock salt, and he didn't want to be part of that.
Hawk tells similar stories in his book, including about how a group of people threatened Steinbeck with a gun at a picnic in Salinas. Hawk says that run-in likely prompted him to apply for a gun license, citing personal protection as the reason. Hawk also has a letter from Steinbeck to his friend and Monterey police officer, George Davalos, asking him to send Steinbeck's guns to New York. Here is the Railway Express receipt showing when the guns were shipped. Hawk says in many ways he's not surprised by the way Steinbeck was treated in those days.
I think every great writer goes through that to a degree. If you're a great writer, you tell the truth, and there's some people that aren't going to want that, aren't going to like that.
With time and a greater understanding of history, the area started to honor Steinbeck. And even though he feared returning, that did not stop Steinbeck from telling his wife this right before he died.
He always did have a very heartfelt relationship with this area. So even after, as he was in New York, on his deathbed, he did tell his third wife, Elaine, that he could not stand to be buried in foreign soil. And so that is why she made sure that his remains came back here.